Coalition of civil society organizations give President Buhari ultimatum to sign reworked electoral amendment. Concerns over role of child soldiers in war against insurgency. Traumatized by banditry, violated and impregnated by supposed helpers. Story of 17-year-old Zainab Umar. And Ottawa police arrest protesters to end Canadian trucker blockade. Hello and welcome. My name is Zainab Bala. Now, Coalition of Civil Society Organization has given President Muhammadu Buhari till the 22nd of February to assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill or risk altering activities for the 2023 general elections. The group, while addressing journalists in Abuja, noted that the bill, which had lingered for too long, only awaits the signature of the president. Sagir Ibrahim has the report.
A coalition of civil society organizations are demanding presidential assent and passage of Nigeria's Electoral Act Amendment Bill on or before the 22nd of February. In their address, they explained that Nigerians have grown impatient and are currently frustrated due to the president's refusal to assent to the bill.
We have lobbied enough. We have pleaded enough with the president. What more do they want us to do? We've been working and lobbying them. They quickly were able to pass the bill, and the president still has not assented. He kept it for 30 days and never come back to Nigerian people, waited for the 30 days. Does that mean that the president does not have enough legal staff, including the Attorney General of the country, to look at issues that is of utmost concern to Nigerians, to be able to react to it? And so I think we are really tired. We are frustrated because we have respected enough. We know what to do.
They reminded President Buhari that delaying assent to the bill is a breach on the promises he made to Nigerians.
The president's delay in signing this bill is also a delay in the promise that he made that he's going to be the people's president. And now, Mr. President, the people is speaking. You do have a private jet that the country pays for. I don't think your presence in Brussels is more important than the democratic development of this country. His refusal will mean a lot, and his signing it will mean much more to the most vulnerable in our society. So please, Mr. President, you have one more time, one more chance to write your name in gold.
The group applauded the National Assembly for addressing majority of the drafting errors in the bill and also pledged to continue to lobby government until the needful is done.
Based on the transmitted version of the bill that we have reviewed, there's just one clause in particular that is yet to be resolved. But that again is also a subject of interpretation. But I think it's important to commend the National Assembly for acceding to the request that citizens made to address the drafting errors and the cross-referencing gaps. There is need for further amendments to the provisions of the bill. He should assent to the bill and forward amendments in the same way he's done for the PIB as well as the appropriation bill.
The next step for us within the remit of what we can do as civil society will be to, of course, explore the possibility of protests and also the lobbying that you talked about. There are folks who we can reach. I think maybe we will be thinking of the Peace Commission now and the rest of them. And as you know, civil society situation also has a responsibility for escalation, and that's lobbying that you talk about. We're going to explore those possibilities.
The electoral bill, once passed, is expected to address issues regarding early release of funds to INEC, inclusion of persons with disabilities, electronic accreditation of voters, electronic transmission of results, among other issues. Sagir Ibrahim reporting for Trust TV.
Similarly, youth in Bauchi want President Muhammadu Buhari to assent to the reworked electoral bill in the interest of the entire nation, saying that his assent would change to the narratives on the electoral process. Adamu Imam reports.
Many Nigerians youth are believed to be given the opportunity to lead the country this time around. The slow phase of preparation towards 2023 general election is the main source of concern to many aspirants as well as the electorates.
So it will be somehow negative for the president not to assent to this amended bill, because by not assenting to it means the status quo will remain the same. And we expect that the president will reverse some things and transform our electoral system and provide sort of a better platform for Nigerians to choose the leaders they really love and have maybe confidence in them.
We don't want a situation where some delegates will just sell the rights of our citizens. I reserve right as a citizen to vote for whoever is the best for me. So we don't want it to happen the same way it has been happening earlier. So we want to make sure that our votes are counted.
Meanwhile, on the contrary, some says even inside the bill, the conduct of electronic voting and subsequent transfer of election results electronically will not augur well with the rural communities. However, they express different views.
Everybody knows there are some issues, some sentimental issues behind. I don't know, between the lawmakers and the governors, there are certain issues behind it. And I'm pleading as a Nigerian that we are not in support of that. All we are after, let me tell you, from 1999 till date, the slogan of our campaign is road, hospital, school, water, potable drinking water. Nigerian cannot get a potable drinking water. Talk less of power.
A common man will abandon everything he's doing to make sure that he queue up to exercise his franchise when it comes to election. But the end result is just a mess-up at the end of everything. And I just believe the Mr. President will consent to all what we are saying and all our voice will be heard so that this electoral bill will be put to action.
Still, some are of the opinion that Nigerians deserve to get new leadership that will tackle the lingering security challenges as well as the economic doldrums in the country. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
We have Mr. Paul James. He's the Program Manager, Elections, Yaga Africa, to talk to us about this. Hello, Mr. Paul. Welcome to the program once again.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, now, you know, by virtue of Section 58, subsection 4 of the Constitution, the President has a timeline of 30 days to give or decline, assent to the electoral bill as amended. Which means he has until March 2nd to actually do that. But why are we seeing so much, agitations propping up from civil society organizations such as yours? Shouldn't we wait patiently to see how this turns out?
Well, because the president has set a very bad precedent and we have to call it for what it is. This is also learning from history of what happened in 2018, where a bill went through a gestation period of 18 months. And when it was the time for the president to sign, he declined assent 4 times. Mm-hmm. One was about the order of the election, which should come before the order. The other one was about drafting errors in the bill. And then the final time, the president said it was too close to the election, and by the ECOWAS convention, you cannot change the electoral laws or make amendments to electoral laws 6 months to the election. Now we thought we had an opportunity. This process started, if we remember, since after the 2019 election, since around December of 2019. And then here we are today. It's the body language that is telling us something different, that the president might end up not signing the bill, because when the bill was presented to him late last year, he raised some concerns which we thought were germane, especially about the mode for party primaries. As civil society, we thought the president was right in that the parties should be allowed. In a democracy, you don't dictate, you allow people to choose the best way possible for them to elect their leaders. And so the bill was returned to the National Assembly. We made crisis with the National Assembly, and within the time limit that they had, they did all the review and sent back to the president for assent. But here we are again. Now, the concern is there are some progressive provisions in the bill that we thought if the president had signed the bill today into law, will allow a lot of innovation. One of those provisions is for INEC, for instance, the timeline for election has been expanded to 360 days for INEC to start all electoral preparation. This is also, if you go back to the 2019, and if you think about some of the logistical nightmares that INEC had to grapple with in managing that election, we thought early planning would help to solve all of that problems. Beyond the early planning also, one of the good things we have seen from the bill before the president is also about the financial independence of INEC. Now, the bill mandates that resources be allocated to INEC early enough for INEC to plan to execute the election. One of the problems of the last election was that the funds for that election was released to INEC just 6 weeks to the election. And we saw the challenges that happened, that INEC even had to postpone the election by 1 week. So a lot is tied to this current bill that is before the president. And what we are seeing is that there is a deliberate attempt by some people that are close to the president to scuttle this. This is because when the president returned the last bill to the National Assembly, we discovered that one of the obnoxious clauses was inserted the last minute. That is the clause about the mode for party primaries. And we are seeing similar thing also now, that the current bill that is before the president, there is a new clause that is inserted into the bill, which states that anybody in public office that want to contest in any of the election must have to resign before they go out to contest for the election. Now, that is the current bone of contention. But it is enough that the people in the National Assembly, even the presidents, are taking Nigerians for a ride. Now, if this delays, today is today is 18th. If you like a year to the next cycle of election, because the next cycle of election will also be February 18th. But then, if INEC will require 360 days to conduct an election, to prepare and conduct for an election, it means by the 22nd of this month, the president is expected to have signed the bill. Otherwise, we might go into the crisis of INEC either reverting to the amendment, electoral act, as it were, or thinking about postponing even the next cycle of elections should the president sign later than when the civil society or Nigerians are expecting. So that is just our call to the president. And this is also because we have seen a president that would rather speak to the people outside than speak to the people in Nigeria. Okay. If there are concerns with the bill, raise the concerns. Let us know who we should interrogate based on the concerns or whatever the president may have observed with the bill. Okay.
Now, if eventually, the president does not, give assent to the bill, what preparations does your organization have? I am an optimist. I am not hoping that the president will not sign the bill. The president said he is a repentant Democrat. The president had raised an observation on the national television. He was once on one of the channels TV, and he said if the mode of primary is addressed, he was going to sign the bill. And we thought the president is a man of integrity, and we're going to hold him to his words that he's going to sign the bill. But him not signing the bill does not mean we will not have an election. We already have an electoral act, as it were. All we're saying is that there are new clauses that we know that are progressive clauses in this bill that, if signed into law, will help to address some of the challenges we have in our elections. Don't forget, one of those is also about reviewing elections that are conducted under duress, which is what INEC has been asking in the past, because based on the current electoral act that we have, once a declaration is made at the polling unit or at the collation centers, only the law can reverse that. But the current bill will now allow INEC to review some of these contentious election results. If you think about the case of Imo in the 2019 election, where the returning officer said he was made to sign the election results under duress. So these are the progressive clauses that we're seeing in this new bill. And let's not also forget what we are seeing, technology, how technology is helping to improve on the quality of our election.
what we have in the current bill is also about the transmission of results. We have seen how the recent election that INEC conducted, that at the end of the election, you're able to see the polling unit level results. So all we are saying is that we should not throw away the baby with the bathwater. If there are issues that the president has observed with the bill, he should point out the issues so that these issues can be addressed, and then Nigeria can have the kind of election that Nigerians expect.
We're sure looking forward to see that and hoping to see how this whole issue pans out. Well, thank you so much for coming on News Hour tonight. We've been speaking with Paul James. He is the Program Manager, Elections Yaga Africa, talking to us about the Electoral Amendment Bill awaiting signature of the President. Now, moving on, use of child soldiers by insurgents and armed groups is not a recent phenomenon, even with calls for state actors and armed groups to stop the recruitment of child soldiers across the world. In Borno State, a 16-year-old joined civilian joint task force to combat insurgency in the state.
The terrorist network recruited thousands of children to support its fight against state actors. A counter-strategy is used by the Civilian Joint Task Force, where it employed 2,273 children to join its ranks against the insurgents. There have been global condemnation and an action plan to prohibit use of child soldiers in the Northeast. In 2017, the civilian JTF agreed to an action plan not to recruit innocent children in armed conflicts.
Then we decided to push out all those we arrest and hand over. So at that time, we have children mingling around us. They come to our checkpoints, just opening gates, closing. They will sweep our environment, the location that we are sitting. We are sending them to buy this thing for us. These are the use that we use them. We did not arm them, you understand? But they are conveying our matches and cutlass and other like porters. We use them.
Mustafa Hamza said he joined civilian JTF because of devastating insurgency. When I was recruited, I sweep their houses in the morning, wash clothes. Sometimes we take food to them, and sometimes too we cook for them. 15 of us did these chores. My parents knew I was working for the group. They prayed for my guidance. At that time, the town was in crisis, so I didn't attend school. Mustafa Hamza is among thousands of boys engaged by the civilian JTF in 2013. He stopped attending school at the age of 9 because of the crisis, and anything to survive on counts a lot. With the war almost over, tailoring keeps him busy, but he has other plans. Apart from this tailoring job, I'm also schooling. I want to become a politician, like a governor or president, so that I will reach out to those in the forest to embrace dialogue and return home, and engage in business and enjoy peace. The campaign against child soldiers will continue to ring bells for state actors and armed groups to desist any plans involving children in conflicts.
Now, banditry and terrorist activities in Katsina State still linger, causing destruction, devastation, and tragic tale of unquantifiable proportion. 16-year-old Zainab Umar is one example of the devastating effects of the violence. She is traumatized by the gruesome killing of her parents by bandits in Jibia. Though she survived the attacks, taking refuge in Masabo village of Rimi local government area of the state, she faces yet another adversity. Zainab is raped and impregnated by yet to be identified individual. Abdullahi Ahmadi visits Rimi to see how she copes.
It is apparently clear that Zainab is mentally sick, a situation her guardian Malam Umar attributed to the trauma of the unfortunate killing of her parents by suspected bandits 2 years ago in Gangara village of Jibia local government. Since the unfortunate incidents, Zainab neither talk nor make any gesture to communicate with family, friends or relations. Thereafter the killing of her parents, Zainab came under the care of Malam Umar, who is the younger brother to her late father. Worried by the incessant attacks, killings and abductions as well as rustling of animals, Malam Umar was forced to relocate from Gangara village of Jibia local government area to Masaba village of Rimi local government, all of Katsina state. At Masaba village, where Zainab along with her guardians are taking refuge, somebody took advantage of her condition and impregnated her. All efforts to support Zainab to trace the person responsible for her pregnancy proved abortive, as she neither talks nor make gestures. However, the Administrative Secretary of Human Rights Network of Nigeria Katsina State Chapter, Malam Ahmad Dantatamashi, and a member of Save the Children Foundation, Malam Nura Isiaku, promised to take up the issue of Zainab to uncover the person responsible for her pregnancy, and the two organizations to take responsibilities of her antenatal and postnatal care. You see, these people were displaced from another village to this village. As they came, this lady was impregnated, and I, as well as the village head and ward heads of Masabu and Ajiwa, did all we could to see that we assisted this lady to uncover the person responsible for her pregnancy, but it proved abortive. You see, our concern as members of Save the Children is to see that she delivered without any problem. We see her child without any problem, and herself delivered without any problem. Malam Umar, a guardian to Zainab and a father of 24 with 2 wives, was forced to abandon his farmland and a house in Gangara village in Jibia local government to Masabu Irimi, a distance of about 100 kilometers. Besides being displaced, Malam Umar had a fracture on his leg following a motorbike accident which forced him to stay indoors for over 2 months. Though disturbed by the economic predicament which is hitting too hard on his head and his family, as well as squatting in this dilapidated house, Malam Umar is more concerned about the vulnerability of Zainab. Since I arrived this village 2 years ago, I have been having so many problems. You know, for somebody to relocate from one place to another, the burden is going to be too much, and that is why we are suffering too much. I cannot even reach my basic needs and the basic needs of my family. And look at my condition now. I had a fracture on my leg. And my major concern now is Zainab, who is very vulnerable. I don't even know what to do. There are many children, such as Zainab, and hundreds of other families like that of Malam Umar. Hence the need for government, corporate bodies, and well-to-do individuals in the society to support families of victims and survivors of banditry and terrorism in Katsina and other northwestern states. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
A tragic story indeed. Now, suspected killer of a retired policeman in Delta State, Chukwudi Emerening, has been arrested. Retired police officer in charge of legal department, Christian Batuma, is reportedly killed in Agwa Clan, Oguta local government area of Imo State. Delta State Police Commissioner Muhammad Ali parades the suspect and other 39 suspected criminals in Asaba. He says the suspect is part of the syndicate responsible for the killing of the police officer.
Who served meritoriously in this state before retiring home to his locality somewhere around Imo State. Only for us to be told that the man was killed by some unknown gunmen, and had his head severed from the body. It is gratifying to state here that this command, having taken that into cognizance, have made a breakthrough as 2 of those suspects have been arrested, and of course have not just given us useful statement but have confessed to that crime. That they are being linked by an angry mob. Police patrol teams were quickly mobilized to the scene where the 2 suspects, namely Onyeka Ifeanyi M, age 19 years, of number 10 Ije Street, Agbo, and Bright Michael Kester M, age 20 years, of number 5 Idumudia Street, Agbo, were rescued from the mob and brought to the station. 1 cut-to-size double-barrel gun was recovered from them. Upon interrogation, they confessed to have robbed several POS operators and also confessed that their gang members were responsible for the robbery and murder of one Mary Ngozi.
The people who did that first pit, they don't hold them Imo State Police custody. Our youth then catch them. That time I was in my village. So after them catch them finish, now I prepare to come town, come stay, no more working the work again. So as I come, me and my girlfriend, I rent a house. As I rent the house, my girlfriend from my place, but him they also follow. So I call him for food. Tell him that I was in Abo. The girl come from Olo. I see him come, buy fan, buy bed, put inside the room. So me and him just there, they manage the team. So on Saturday, me and that girl just they about finish. As we about finish, police people come. As they come, and I will not run. I begin to ask them, say, what thing I do? They say, when I reach station, so I will know what thing I do.
Northern Consensus Movement has called on the Nigerian government to prioritize its responsibility of protecting lives and properties of Nigerians following the attacks of some northerners in Abia State. President of the movement, Awal Ali, who made the charge during a news conference in Abuja, stressed that unless the government lives up to its responsibilities of safeguarding its citizens, the perpetrators of the act might succeed in its ploy to spark a retaliation, thereby leading to more crisis.
Unaccountable number of human beings that were carted away or taken away by these people, including monies and some valuables. We are also calling on federal government and security agencies in particular to be more proactive and pragmatic in taking up their responsibility of protecting lives and properties of every citizen in Nigeria, irrespective of creed. It is most likely the perpetrators of the attackers are deliberately doing so just to push the knot to retaliate so as to spark up a regional tension that may lead to yet another civil war. God forbid. Notwithstanding, we are calling on all northerners resident in the eastern part of Nigeria to return home without delay for their safety, while we are assuring our Igbo brothers living in the north not to panic as there is no cause for alarm, hence their safety is guaranteed. And we also feel that there is need to shield every sword and embrace dialogue for whatever reason leading to such inhuman action.
You're watching News Hour on Trust Television. Coming up, Abuja most expensive dinner going for $1,000. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19 or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others at least 2 meters even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is news on Trust Television. Here are our top stories. A coalition of civil society organizations has given President Muhammadu Buhari till the 22nd of February to assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill or risk altering activities for the 2023 general elections. Use of child soldiers by insurgents and armed groups is not a recent phenomenon, even with calls for state actors and armed groups to stop the recruitment of child soldiers across the world. A tanker carrying petrol exploded on Friday, killing at least 17 people along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Ogun State. The FRC spokesperson in the state, Florence Okpe, said the accident happened before Isara Bridge in Ogun East Senatorial District. According to the spokesperson, 14 of the bodies were burnt beyond recognition. Added that the tanker had a head-on collision with a master bus. She said a total number of people involved in the accident cannot be ascertained, but a total of 17 bodies have been identified. The Ogun FRC sector commander Ahmed Umar described the crash as an avoidable one if the drivers had obeyed traffic rules and regulations, and also commiserated with the families of the victims, and joining them to contact the FRC office in Ogiri for more information about the crash. Elsewhere, motorists in Kano State are accusing independent marketers of worsening fuel scarcity in the state capital. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibril reports that despite the withdrawal of the adulterated fuel, motorists spend hours on queues to buy fuel in many parts of the state. His report.
The suffering of these people started few days ago when an adulterated petroleum product was detected across many filling stations in Kano, which some motorists say is still creating hardship in getting the product. This petroleum scarcity is disturbing us. We have been here since morning. We are in this filling station, and across this area you can see that this is the only filling station that is selling. And we have been suffering this for the past like 5 days, and it keeps on going like that.
Sai an zo mai bi kana dab da shiga sai a sami tsaiko. Allah shugabanni dan Allah su daure su ba talaka sauki a cikin.
We are begging on the authorities, please, to help us solve this problem. Look at it. It's not only the petroleum problem that we are having. See, food prices has gone so far. And then the issue of this petroleum, we have come here since morning, and up to this moment, I still don't understand what is going on here. According to motorists, there are many filling stations who did not brought in the adulterated fuel, but still chose to remain closed. I can remember this problem, we had this problem 20 years ago. We know during General Sani Abacha, there was this kind of adulterated petrol that was brought into Nigeria, and we suffered during that time. And now we are still suffering again. It has come again, this adulterated petroleum product. And we've been suffering for quite some times. We are just calling for authorities to help us and see how they can be able to solve this problem so that we will stop suffering like this. I have never seen this kind of problem since President Buhari came to power. And this petroleum problem, they said they have brought in adulterated product, and there is an instruction that it has been withdrawn out of the market. And now why are we having this kind of problem? You go to filling station, you will see some filling stations selling at 210 naira, 220 naira, and no one is saying anything. Nobody is ready. If you go to other areas like Ring Road, like Hadeja Road, you will see many filling stations that are closed and they have the product, but they refuse to open for sale. Meanwhile, as the fuel queues continues within the metropolitan city of Kano, motorists are calling on authorities to provide a lasting solution to the problem. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
There you go. And now for those of politics, Publicity Secretary of the Senator Kabiru Marafa-led All Progressive Congress faction in Zamfara State, Bello Bakasua, has alleged that suspected political thugs attacked him and their legal team at the court premises shortly after the adjournment of the suit against APC on Thursday. He made the allegation while briefing journalists in Gusau, where he claimed that the attack is a hatched plan by the ruling APC faction in the state to eliminate him.
I myself, being the publicity secretary of Senator Marafa-led APC faction, and some counsel that presented us in the court, led by Barrister J.C. Shaka, Esquire, and some few other lawyers amongst, we are attacked right inside the court premises. We are attacked right inside the court premises shortly after the presiding judge adjourned the case to 14 March 2022. Those political talks, or hoodlum, stormed the court premises while we were briefing journalists and started hitting on us, especially me. I have to run into one of the lawyer's car to rescue myself.
Bello Bakasua wondered how the suspected political thugs found their way into the court premises despite the presence of security operatives. He alleged that the attack is sponsored by Governor Bello Matawalle and his lieutenants because they are sensing failure even before the court judgment on the matter.
The attack today is an act of political destruction perpetrated by the likes of Governor Bello Matawalle and his lieutenant simply because they are beginning to sense failure even before the court ruling is over. This is anarchy, not politics. And Senator Marafa did not subscribe to this. We will never accept this, and it's unacceptable by law. Attacking the council and the publicity secretary in a broad daylight and right inside the court premises should not go just like that. First, we'll ask, how does those guys make their way into the court premises despite the presence of security operatives? Any answer to this will tell us that this is well planned and well targeted as Senator Marafa camp of the APC. On this note, we would like to assure all our supporters that we are not backing out nor submitting ourselves to the threats like the one we experienced today.
However, Publicity Secretary of the Governor, Bello Matawalle, led faction of the APC, Yusuf Idris, denied the allegation, insisting that no attack occurred at the court premises and he personally saw off Bello Bakasua to his vehicle where he left peacefully.
Still ahead, since after the recent communal crisis between Fulani and Irigwe ethnic groups in the villages of Bassa local government area of Plateau State in early August 2021, there have been several efforts by stakeholders to bring an end to the crisis. Irigwe and Fulani crisis has claimed many lives and destroyed properties worth millions of naira since 2021, with both parties blaming each other for the attack.
Since after the recent communal crisis between Fulani and Irigwe ethnic groups in the villages of Bassa local government area of the state in the early August 2021, there have been several efforts by different stakeholders to bring an end to the crisis. Irigwe and Fulani crisis has claimed many lives and destruction of properties worth millions of naira since 2018, with both parties blaming each other of the attack. The recent upheavals, however, in the Bassa communities, which led to attack on Fulani travelers around Gadabiu area and subsequent attack on Yolwa Zagam community, all in Josno local government area, has raised a lot of concern. But in what seems to be another step to broker peace between the groups, the Operation Safe Haven commander, Major General I.S. Ali, who doubles as General Officer Commanding 3 Division of the Nigerian Army, had on September 12 inaugurated a 36-member Joint Peace Committee to find solutions to attacks and counter-attacks between mostly herders and farmers. However, in its continuation to find lasting solution to the problem, the commander of the operation on Thursday organized the first Irigwe Fulani Youth Summit of Bassa local government to strengthen peaceful coexistence between them. The commander of the operation, while delivering his speech, called on the youth to give peace a chance and avoid anything that is capable of igniting conflict in their communities.
I am delighted to meet with the youth to dialogue on the need for peaceful coexistence, unity and tolerance towards each other. As you all know, the youth are the future leaders of tomorrow. And I believe, as leaders, you will not allow your community and future to be destroyed. You are one of the greatest untapped assets for promoting peaceful coexistence and unity in the country. This is one of the reasons I always find time to engage you to chart a way forward for a better future ahead of you and children, your children yet unborn.
Some of the participants at the event are optimistic about the event. Shuhobari and Irigwe, and a participant at the event, is optimistic about the peace process. We are here to reconcile with our brothers that we are living together, but at a point we started fighting one another for nothing. So we are here to put our heads together to find lasting peace in our various communities. My hope is that after this summit, we will continue to live with one another irrespective of our ethno-religious affiliation. Awal Abubakar, a Fulani and also a participant at the event, also expressed hope that the lesson learned will go a long way to ensuring peace and harmony in the entire Bassa local government area. We are at this summit to find ways of peaceful coexistence among us. We are happy that the commander of the operation has organized this meeting, and we hope that there will be peace after this meeting. It is worrisome that so many efforts have been made to bring peace between the warring parties, but yet attacks and counter-attacks continue between them. It is hoped that with this youth summit, there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
$100 fee for just a dinner would sound exorbitant. It is the equivalent of 500,000 naira going by value of the naira at Parallel Market. But Chef Stone, a restaurant owner, offered this staggering amount for couples in Abuja on Valentine's Day, and many salivated to get their slice. Justifying the fee, Abiola Kanji said the dinner is a one-day experience in a year.
The $1,000 dinner was an interesting one because when I thought about doing a dinner, for the yet to be open restaurant, I said, you know what, I want to blow everything out of the water. I want to do something no one has ever done before. And it wasn't even about the price, because in the end, we spent more money to pull the dinner together than we actually made. But for me, it was about doing something that had never been done before. It was about doing a dinner that could stand with any dinner in the world. I wanted to do something on that level. Any Michelin star chef or Michelin star restaurant, the kind of dinner they served, that was what I wanted to give my guests. So it was about doing something different. You know, everybody does the same thing. You do Valentine's and then you want to do a dinner, and it's almost the same thing everywhere, but I wanted to do something that was totally different. So when I even told my team that it was going to be $1,000, everybody was like, wow, $1,000, why $1,000? And I said, you know what, I want it to be very intimate and I want it to be very exclusive. A small number of people, 10 couples only, nothing more than that. Let those 10 couples have the time of their lives. That was what it was all about.
Now that story has been across board, and $1,000 is quite a fee for dinner, isn't it? Now, the Executive Secretary, National Sugar Development Council, Zak Adedeji, says federal government has put in place necessary policies and programs that will accelerate Nigeria's drive to attain self-sufficiency in sugar production, as captured in the Nigerian Sugar Master Plan, a 10-year policy document for the sector. The Executive Secretary stated this while on a working visit to a sugar factory in Lafiagi, Edu local government area of Kwara State. Adedeji said, given huge human population and vast arable land, Nigeria has all it takes to become a major player within the global sugar sector, noting the need for key players in the industry to redouble their efforts, especially as it relates to the faithful implementation of the backward integration program designed for the sugar sector.
25% of that is expected to come from this feed alone. That the reason why we have this backward integration program is because there is a policy which has become law that we call Sugar Master Plan for Nigeria. The superiority of that master plan will help us to make sure that the investment we have here is not put into waste. Because if there is distortion or violation of that plan, what it means is that the investment we have here, the return will not come on time. So I use this medium to encourage all the operators, both the prospective one and the one that we have here, to address strictly to the provision of this master plan. That is when the guideline and the mandate that we have, we can achieve. So I use this period to encourage all our operators to focus on the implementation of master plan. You know, the plan was actually for 10 years, but it was divided into two. And we start from let's refine first. Let's see our refining capacity. From there, we can now move to, if you could recollect, when we started, we are importing refined sugar to the country. As of today, we don't do that again. We only have raw sugar imported. And for your information, the refining capacity we have as of today is double the consumption that we have in the country, because we have in the excess of 3.5 million metric tons that we can refine today. And that is why the focus for the next phase of master plan is this feed development. And that is where we have to come to the feed. That is why we are not a refinery today, but we are reviewing the master plan because with the view of seeking the extension to its implementation, so that all these investments will not go into waste.
And in business, the federal government has signed Interconnected Mini-Grid Acceleration Scheme Award Grant Agreement with 8 indigenous solar mini-grid developers for the development of 23 mini-grids across 11 states of the Federation. Expected to generate a 5.4 kilowatt peak to connect about 27,600 households and impact over 138,000 Nigerians in 2 years. The £9.3 million project is coordinated by the Rural Electrification Agency with support from the European Union and the German government through the Nigerian Energy Support Program. Now let's go on a quick break. When we come back, News Hour continues. Do stay. Now let's join Chamunda Bank for more on business news.
Abuja Electricity Distribution Company AEDC has announced that there will be power interruptions in some parts of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. The company said that the interruption would enable the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, carry out maintenance on its Apol substation. Chief Marketing Officer of AEDC Abuja, Mr. Donald Etim, who made the disclosure in a statement in Abuja, said the power interruption will take place on Saturday, the 19th of February between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Etim listed the affected areas to include Lokogoma, Apol Mechanic Village, Apol Resettlement, Waru Village, Gudu, Gadua Estate, Trademore Estate, Apol Legislative Quarters, and behind the transmission substation. Etim also attributed the current low supply of electricity to inadequate generation by the generating companies and also appealed to customers to be patient and cooperate with the company in its quest to provide better services. Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has rejected Senate's plan to pass a new anti-money laundering legislation without amending the existing Money Laundering Prevention Act 2011. The disclosure was made by the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, during his input on the legislative suggestions that an adjustment to the existing Money Laundering Prevention Act 2011 would better serve Nigerians' interests than repeal and reenactment. According to the report, the public hearing was on 3 bills: Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Bill 2021, Public Complaints Commission Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, and Proceeds of Crimes Recovery and Management Bill 2021. Emefiele, who was represented by a director of the Apex Bank, Chibuzo Anthony Efobi, warned that there is a possibility that the international review would uncover fresh weaknesses, resulting in Nigeria's ranking being downgraded. Nigerian Airspace Management Agency NAMA says it will improve safety in the Nigerian aviation industry with the installation of extended very high omnidirectional radio range VOR system in several of its stations across the country. With the installation of the equipment, NAMA says blind spots in the country's airspace will be a thing of the past, while safety and security in the air and on ground would further be enhanced. The acting managing director, NAMA Lawrence Pajok, disclosed this recently at the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, during the oversight visit of the Joint National Assembly Committee on Aviation. According to Pajok, the equipment, which is to boost air-to-ground communication, has already been installed in some northern stations of the country, including Abuja and Kano, while that of the Lagos Center would be installed in the next 1 week. Freight forwarders say they may ground commercial activities at the seaport over plans by the Nigerian Customs Service, NCS, to implement the Vehicle Identification Number (VIN) valuation policy on all imported vehicles. Recall that the federal government, through the Ministry of Finance, had last month flagged off the introduction of VIN into the customs valuation system through vehicle registration, VREG. According to the agents, the VREG had not only slowed down their operations, but that they had also incurred huge demurrage following the frequent collapse of the VREG portal. The VIN is an electronic system that allocates appropriate values and duty payable on imported fairly used vehicles. Rising from a joint emergency meeting, the agents issued a 72-hour strike notice to Customs to halt the implementation of VIN. PTML chapter chairman of the National Council of Managing Directors of Licensed Customs Agents, NCM DLCA, Mr. Abayomi Duyile, said there were flaws in the customs valuation system, as there was no consideration for rebate and depreciation value in the valuation being issued on imported cars. That's all for business news. I am Shamun Dabeng.
And on the foreign scene, Ottawa police have asked protesters to remain peaceful and lawful as they moved in to clear protests that have blockaded the center of the Canadian capital for 3 weeks. Dozens of police vehicles, including a large black armored car, and about 100 police officers arrived near Mackenzie King Bridge and Waller Street next to the Ottawa Art Gallery Friday morning, where about 20 vehicles have been parked since last January, blocking the roadway. Police arrested 2 leaders of the protests on Thursday. The self-styled Freedom Convoy converged in Ottawa on January 28, protesting coronavirus restrictions and demanding they be ended. Trucks blocked the streets around Parliament Hill and have remained since, occupying several central residential blocks. And in Sports Athletics Integrity Unit has handed Nigerian sprinter Blessing Okagbari a 10-year ban following her expulsion from last year's Tokyo Olympics for doping violations. The 2008 Beijing Olympics long jump silver medalist got 5 years for the presence and use of multiple prohibited substances and another 5 years for her refusal to cooperate with the AIU's investigation into her case. The unit expelled the 33-year-old from the Tokyo Olympics last year before the women's 100-meter semi-finals after testing positive for human growth hormone at the out-of-competition test in Slovakia on January 19th. A brace from Ifeoma Onumonu gives Nigeria an edge in the first leg match played at MKO Abiola Stadium on Friday. The 2 goals were scored in the 21st and 57th minute. Lady Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire now trail Super Falcon till the second leg coming up on Wednesday, 23rd in Abidjan. And that's it on NewsHour. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Zainab Bala. Have a good night.